Lauren had never been to a gala this expensive. The invitation had arrived at her office 3 days ago, heavy cardstock, embossed lettering, the kind of formal elegance that screamed old money and serious connections. It was for a charity event benefiting children's hospitals, hosted by someone named Sebastian Volkov at his private estate. "You're going, right?" her boss had said. It wasn't really a question. "Volkov's one of our biggest potential clients. We need representation there, and you're our best analyst. Make a good impression." So here Lauren was, in a borrowed dress that cost more than her monthly rent, standing in a ballroom that looked like something out of a period film. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, artwork on the walls that was probably worth more than her entire apartment building. And people, wealthy people, politicians, business leaders. The kind of crowd where a single conversation could change your career or destroy it. Lauren grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and tried to look like she belonged. "First time at one of these?" a woman asked beside her. She was older, elegant, with the kind of confidence that came from a lifetime of privilege. "That obvious?" Lauren smiled. "Only to someone who's been attending these for 40 years. I'm Margaret Chen. My husband sits on the hospital board. Lauren Harris. I'm here representing Morrison Analytics. The consulting firm. Sebastian mentioned he was considering working with you." Margaret sipped her champagne. "Word of advice, don't try to pitch business to him tonight. He despises opportunism at charity events." "Good to know." "Thank you." Margaret drifted away, leaving Lauren to navigate the crowd alone. She made small talk with a few people, carefully avoided anyone who looked too important to approach casually, and was generally managing to not embarrass herself or her firm. Until she met Richard Castellane. He approached her near the hors d'oeuvres table, tall, mid-50s, expensive suit, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You're new," he said without introduction. "I know everyone here, and I've never seen you before. Lauren Harris. Morrison Analytics. Castellana. I run the Castellana Group. Real estate, development, various investments." He looked her up and down in a way that made her skin crawl. "And what's a lovely young analyst doing at Sebastian's event?" "My firm is hoping to work with Mr. Volkov. I'm here representing our interests, hoping to work with him." "How ambitious." Castellan moved closer, invading her personal space. "Let me give you some advice, sweetheart. Sebastian doesn't work with firms that send pretty girls to events hoping to catch his attention. He works with people who have real value to offer." Lauren stepped back. "I have real value. I'm one of the top analysts in my field." "I'm sure you are. But that's not why you're here, is it? You're here because your boss thought a pretty face might open doors." Don't be naive. This is how the world works. Men like Sebastian, men like me, were not impressed by credentials on a resume. We're impressed by results. And by people who know their place." Lauren felt anger rising. "My place?" "Your place. Young, inexperienced, clearly out of your depth at an event like this." Castellane leaned in, his breath smelling of scotch. "Tell you what you leave now. Spare yourself the embarrassment of trying to network with people who won't take you seriously. And I'll forget we had this conversation." "I'm not leaving." "No?" His smile turned cold. "Then let me be more direct. You're nobody. Your firm is nobody. And if you think Sebastian Volkov is going to give you the time of day based on whatever pitch you've prepared, you're delusional. Go home, little girl. This isn't your world." Lauren's face burned with humiliation and rage. Around them, people were starting to notice the conversation, starting to watch with that particular interest that comes when someone's being put in their place publicly. "I'm not leaving," Lauren repeated, keeping her voice steady despite her shaking hands. "I was invited here, same as you. I have every right to be here." "Rights?" Castellana laughed. "You think rights matter in rooms like this? Power matters, connections matter. And you have neither." He reached out and grabbed her arm, not violently, but firmly enough to hurt. "Now be a good girl and remove your hand. Now." The voice came from behind Lauren. Deep, calm, carrying absolute authority that made everyone within earshot freeze. Castellana's face went pale. He released Lauren's arm immediately and stepped back. Lauren turned and found herself facing a man who commanded the room's attention without apparent effort. He was tall, dark-haired, wearing a tuxedo that looked custom-made, and his dark eyes held something cold and dangerous beneath a veneer of civility. "Mr. Volkov," Castellan said quickly. You were just touching a guest at my event without permission. After insulting her publicly. After suggesting she doesn't belong here. The man Sebastian Volkov, Lauren realized, moved to stand beside her. Not touching her, but close enough that his presence was clearly protective. "Did I miss anything, miss?" "Harris. Lauren Harris." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Miss Harris, did I accurately summarize what just occurred?" "Yes, completely accurately." Sebastian looked at Castellane, and the temperature in the immediate area seemed to drop several degrees. "Richard, we've known each other for 15 years. Which is the only reason I'm going to give you an opportunity to apologize to Miss Harris and leave my event with your dignity intact." "Sebastian, I was just trying to help her understand. You were bullying a young professional because you could. Because you thought no one would stop you. Because you've spent so long in rooms where power means you face no consequences that you forgot basic human decency." Sebastian's voice never rose, but the menace underneath was undeniable. "Apologize. Now." Castellana looked between Sebastian and Lauren. She could see the calculation in his eyes, weighing humiliation against whatever consequences Sebastian was implying. "I apologize," he finally said, not meeting Lauren's eyes. "I was out of line. Look at her when you apologize. She deserves that much respect." Castellana's jaw tightened, but he looked at Lauren directly. "I apologize for my behavior. It was inappropriate. Now leave. You're no longer welcome at my events." "Sebastian, you can't. We have business together. Had business together." Past tense. If you can't treat guests at a charity event with basic respect, I don't want to know how you treat people in business dealings. "We're done, Richard. Permanently." The finality in Sebastian's voice left no room for argument. Castellana looked like he wanted to protest, but something in Sebastian's expression stopped him. He turned and walked away, his posture rigid with suppressed rage. The room had gone quiet, everyone watching the confrontation. Sebastian didn't seem to notice or care about the attention. He turned to Lauren. "Are you all right?" "Yes, thank you for that was unacceptable." What he did was completely unacceptable. Sebastian's expression softened slightly. "Please accept my apologies that it happened at all. You're a guest here, and you should have been treated with respect from the moment you arrived. You didn't have to do that." "End your business relationship with him, Yes, I did." Men like Castellana think power insulates them from consequences. Tonight, he learned otherwise. Sebastian gestured to the bar. "Can I get you a drink? Something stronger than champagne, perhaps." "I'd like that." "Thank you." As they walked to the bar, Lauren was acutely aware of every eye in the room following them. The host of the evening, one of the city's most influential businessmen, was personally escorting her to get a drink. After publicly humiliating a powerful developer, she should probably feel vindicated. Instead, she felt confused and slightly overwhelmed. "Whiskey?" Sebastian asked at the bar. "Or something else?" "Whiskey is perfect." He ordered 2 glasses expensive whiskey, the kind Lauren had only tried once and couldn't afford to buy. They moved to a quieter corner of the ballroom. "You said you're with Morrison Analytics?" Sebastian asked. "Yes, I'm one of their senior analysts. My boss thought attending tonight might help us make connections. And instead you met Richard Castellana at his worst." "I'm sorry about that. It's not your fault." He single quotes double quotes. Lauren searched for a polite word. "An entitled bully?" Sebastian supplied. "I've known Richard for years. He's always had issues with anyone he perceives as beneath him. Which, in his view, is most of the human population. You two seemed close. The way he reacted to you." Something flickered in Sebastian's expression, amusement, maybe, or calculation. "We had business dealings. Nothing I can't replace. And certainly nothing worth tolerating his behavior toward you. Still, that was a significant business relationship to end over a stranger." "You're not a stranger. You're a guest at my event. which makes you someone I'm responsible for protecting. He studied her face. And you handled that remarkably well, by the way. Most people would have either backed down or escalated into a scene. You maintained your dignity while standing your ground. That's not easy to do. I was terrified. But you didn't show it. That matters more than you think. They talked for another 20 minutes. Sebastian was surprisingly easy to talk to, intelligent, asking thoughtful questions about her work, actually listening to her answers. Not at all what Lauren expected from someone wealthy enough to host events like this. I should let you get back to your other guests, Lauren said finally. I've monopolized enough of your time. You've been the most interesting conversation of the evening. Everyone else wants to discuss business or politics or whatever they think will benefit them. You just had an actual conversation. That's refreshing. Well, thank you again. For stepping in, for the drink, for being kind. Sebastian pulled a business card from his pocket and handed it to her. Call my office next week. I'd like to discuss what Morrison Analytics might be able to offer, and, Lauren? Yes? Don't let people like Castellana make you doubt your place in rooms like this. You belong anywhere your talent and work can take you. Don't forget that. He walked away, back to his hosting duties. Lauren looked at the card in her hand, simple, elegant, just a name and number. She'd come to this event hoping to make connections. She'd been humiliated by a powerful man. And she'd been defended by someone even more powerful in ways she didn't fully understand. It was the strangest evening of her life. And it was about to get stranger. Lauren called Sebastian's office the following Monday. She expected to leave a message, maybe schedule something weeks out. Instead, his assistant put her through immediately. Lauren, good to hear from you. I trust you recovered from Friday's unpleasantness? I did. Thank you again for intervening. I meant what I said about discussing business. Are you free for lunch this week? Yes, I can make time. Thursday. 1 p.m. I'll send a car to your office. I can meet you somewhere. Lauren, I'm sending a car. It's already decided. See you Thursday. He hung up before she could argue. Thursday arrived. At exactly 1 p.m., a sleek black car pulled up in front of Morrison Analytics. The driver held the door open for Lauren, treating her like she was someone important rather than a mid-level analyst climbing into a car that cost more than her annual salary. They drove to a restaurant Lauren had heard of but never dreamed of entering, the kind of place where reservations were made months in advance and entrees cost what she spent on groceries for a week. Sebastian was already seated, and he stood when she arrived. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. This place is incredible. The food is excellent. And more importantly, it's private. We can talk without interruption. They ordered Sebastian, handling it effortlessly, recommending dishes Lauren had never heard of. Once the waiter left, he leaned back and studied her. Tell me about Morrison Analytics. What makes your firm special? Lauren launched into her prepared pitch. Their methodologies, their track record, their innovative approaches to financial analysis. Sebastian listened intently, asking sharp questions that showed he actually understood the technical details. Impressive, he said when she finished. You clearly know your field. But I'm curious about something else. What's that? Why are you still working for Morrison? With your skills, you could be at a much larger firm, making significantly more money. Lauren hesitated. I like the people I work with. The projects are interesting. And I have room to grow. Diplomatic answer. But not entirely honest. Sebastian sipped his wine. You stayed because leaving felt disloyal. Because your boss took a chance on you and you were just starting out, and you feel you owe him. It was uncomfortably accurate. How did you? I pay attention to people. It's part of what I do. He set down his glass. Here's what I'm thinking. Your firm is good, but it's limited by its size and resources. You're exceptional, but you're constrained by working within their framework. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you an opportunity. I have several business interests that could benefit from your analytical skills. The work would be more complex, more challenging, and significantly better compensated than what Morrison pays you. That's generous, but I can't just leave my firm. I'm not asking you to, not yet anyway. I'm suggesting we start with a consulting arrangement. You take on a project for me, see how it goes. If it works well, we discuss something more permanent. Lauren should probably have said no. Should have maintained her loyalty to Morrison. But the opportunity Sebastian was offering was exactly what she'd been hoping for. A chance to prove herself at a higher level. What kind of project? She asked. Due diligence on a potential acquisition. Complex financial structure. Requires someone who can see patterns others miss. I think you'd be perfect for it. They spent the rest of lunch discussing details. The project was fascinating, exactly the kind of challenging work Lauren loved. And Sebastian was offering to pay her consulting rate that was 3 times what Morrison charged clients. I'll need to clear this with my boss, Lauren said as lunch concluded. Of course, but Lauren, don't undersell yourself. You're worth more than Morrison recognizes. Remember that. Back at the office, Lauren's boss was thrilled. You landed Sebastian Volkov as a client? Do you know how many firms have been trying to work with him for years? This could make our reputation. The project consumed Lauren's attention for the next 2 weeks. The financial structures were intricate, deliberately obscure, requiring her to trace money through multiple shell corporations and offshore accounts. It should have felt wrong. Should have raised red flags. But Lauren was too caught up in the intellectual challenge to question why someone would structure finances so opacly. She presented her findings to Sebastian at his office, a sleek space in a building she hadn't realized he owned. Excellent work, he said, reviewing her report. You found connections even I wasn't aware of. That's impressive. Some of these structures are unusual. The routing through offshore accounts, the shell corporations, it's all legal, but it's designed to obscure ownership. Yes, Sebastian agreed calmly. That's intentional. Why? He looked at her directly. Because privacy matters in my line of work. Because having transparent finances makes you vulnerable to competitors and investigators. Because sometimes the legal approach isn't always the open approach. Something in his tone made Lauren pause. What exactly is your line of work, Mr. Volkov? Call me Sebastian, and my work is complicated. I manage various business interests, real estate, imports, investments, some more legitimate than others. More legitimate than others? Lauren, you're an intelligent woman. You've been analyzing financial structures for 2 weeks. What do you think those structures are designed to hide? She thought about the patterns she'd seen. The careful insulation between different business entities. The routing of money through jurisdictions with lax reporting requirements. The shell corporations with minimal documentation. Money laundering, she said quietly. These are structures designed to hide the origin of funds. Among other things, yes. Lauren felt her stomach drop. You're a criminal. I'm a businessman who operates in spaces where traditional, legal structures don't effectively reach. Sebastian's expression didn't change. But if you need to use the word criminal to understand what I do, then yes. I run an organization that engages in various illegal activities while maintaining legitimate business fronts. And you just told me? Just admitted that? Because you already figured it out. Because lying to you now would be insulting to your intelligence. And because I'm hoping you'll understand that illegal doesn't always mean wrong. Lauren stood abruptly. I need to leave. Sit down, Lauren. I'm not taking orders from, please. Sit down. Let me explain before you make decisions you might regret. Against her better judgment, Lauren sat. Sebastian poured 2 glasses of whiskey, apparently his preferred method for difficult conversations. He handed one to Lauren, who took it automatically. What you discovered in your analysis is accurate, he began. Those financial structures exist to obscure the origin of certain funds. But what you didn't discover, what isn't visible in financial documents, is context. Context doesn't change illegal activity, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Duh. What if I told you that a significant portion of those obscured funds comes from gambling operations that generate revenue the state overtaxes? Or from importing goods that are legal everywhere except in jurisdictions with protectionist policies designed to benefit large corporations? Or from providing services that people need but can't access through legitimate channels because of bureaucratic failures? Lauren took a sip of whiskey. You're trying to justify criminal activity. I'm trying to provide perspective. Yes, what I do is illegal. But it's illegal because laws are written by people with interests that don't align with actual human needs. I fill gaps, I provide services. And yes, I profit from doing so. That's still crime. Technically true. But let me ask you something. Do you use a streaming service with a shared password? Do you speed on highways when traffic conditions allow? Have you ever written off a personal expense as business-related on your taxes? That's not the same, isn't it? You break laws when those laws don't align with your needs or values. I do the same thing, just at a larger scale. He leaned forward. Lauren, I'm not asking you to approve of what I do. I'm asking you to understand that the world isn't divided into legal and illegal, good and bad. It's far more complicated than that. Why are you telling me all this? You could have just paid me for the analysis and sent me away. Because you're talented. Because I could use someone with your skills in my organization. And because I don't like lying to people I might want to work with long term. You want me to work for you? Knowing what you are, I want you to consider it. The work would be challenging, well compensated, and yes, occasionally exist in legal gray areas. But it would also be honest work analyzing real financial structures, finding real patterns, making real contributions to a criminal organization, to an organization that operates outside traditional legal frameworks while trying to do more good than harm. He paused. Do you know why I intervened when Castellan's harassing you? Because he was being inappropriate. Because men like him represent everything wrong with legitimate business. He's legal in everything he does, but he exploits workers, evades taxes through barely legal methods, bullies anyone who can't fight back. He operates entirely within the law and does incredible damage. Sebastian continued. I operate outside the law, but I pay my people well. I don't exploit vulnerabilities, and when I saw him bullying you, I stopped it. Legal versus illegal doesn't determine morality, Lauren. Actions do. That's a very convenient philosophy for a criminal. Perhaps, but it's honest. Which is more than most legitimate business people can claim. Lauren finished her whiskey, mind racing. Everything Sebastian said was logical, persuasive, almost convincing. But it was also clearly designed to recruit her into something illegal. I need time to think, she said. Of course. Take all the time you need. But Lauren, whether you decide to work with me or not, what you learn during this analysis stays confidential. You understand why that's necessary? It wasn't quite a threat, but it wasn't not a threat either. I understand. Good. I'll have my driver take you home. In the car, Lauren stared out the window at the city passing by. She should go to the authorities. Report what she'd discovered. Be a good citizen. But something stopped her. Maybe it was Sebastian's argument about legal versus moral. Maybe it was the memory of how he defended her against Castellana. Maybe it was simple self-interest. Working for Sebastian would be lucrative and challenging. Or maybe she was just rationalizing because she found him interesting and wanted an excuse to stay in his orbit. She didn't call the authorities. Didn't report what she'd learned. Just went home and tried to pretend her world hadn't just shifted dramatically. Sebastian called 3 days later. Have you made a decision? I need to understand something first. That night at the gala when you stopped Castellana, was that real? Or was it calculated? A recruitment strategy? Both. I genuinely found his behavior unacceptable. But I also recognized you as someone talented who might be useful to know. Complex motivations, honest actions. That's how I operate. At least you're honest about it. Always. With people who matter anyway. So, decision? Lauren took a deep breath. I'll consult for you. But I'm not committing to anything permanent until I see what this really involves. And if at any point I feel like I'm compromising my ethics beyond what I can tolerate, I walk. Agreed? Agreed. Welcome aboard, Lauren. I think this is going to be a very productive relationship. As she hung up, Lauren wondered what she'd just gotten herself into. And why she felt more excited than afraid. Lauren's first real assignment came 2 weeks later. Sebastian called and asked her to meet him at an address in an industrial area she didn't recognize. Is this safe? She asked when the driver stopped in front of a nondescript warehouse. With me? Always. Come on. Inside, the warehouse was surprisingly well appointed. Not luxurious, but professional offices, meeting spaces, people working at computers. It looked like any legitimate business operation. Except everyone treated Sebastian with a deference that went beyond normal respect. They looked at him like he was dangerous and valuable in equal measure. "This is one of my primary operations centers," Sebastian explained. "We handle logistics, financial planning, coordination of various business interests. Completely legitimate appearance, serving legitimate and less legitimate purposes. How many people work for you?" "Directly? About 200. Indirectly? Several thousand, if you count everyone whose livelihood depends on businesses I control or influence." He led her to a conference room where several people were already waiting. "Lauren, this is Victor, my CFO. Marcus, head of security. And Dimitri, who manages our import operations. Gentleman Lauren Harris. She be handling some financial analysis for us." They greeted her with polite professionalism, but Lauren could see them assessing her, wondering if she was a risk or an asset. "Lauren's going to review our Eastern Seaboard logistics network," Sebastian said. "We've been losing money somewhere in the chain, and I need her to find out where and how." The project was fascinating. Lauren spent 3 weeks diving into shipping manifests, port records, transportation costs, and payment schedules. The complexity was impressive: legitimate goods mixed with contraband, legal businesses subsidizing illegal operations, money flowing through so many channels that tracking it required serious analytical skill. She found the problem. A port manager was skimming shipments, selling what he stole, and pocketing the difference. It was sophisticated enough that the losses looked like normal operational variance. "Excellent work," Sebastian said when she presented her findings. "How much did he steal?" "Approximately 800,000 over 18 months. And you're certain?" "The pattern is clear once you know what to look for." He was careful, but not careful enough. Sebastian made a call. Spoke in Russian for several minutes, hung up and looked at Lauren. "Thank you. This will be handled." "Handled how?" "The port manager will be given a choice: return what he stole and leave the city, or face consequences he won't enjoy. Most people choose the first option. And if he doesn't, then consequences happen. But that's not something you need to worry about." Over the following months, Lauren took on more projects. Each one showed her more of Sebastian's world: the legitimate businesses that generated clean revenue, the illegal operations that generated dirty revenue, the complex dance between the two that kept authorities at bay. And she realized something unsettling. She was good at this. Better than good. The work challenged her in ways her previous job never had. She was using all her skills, seeing patterns others missed, making real contributions. "You're a natural at this," Sebastian observed one evening after a particularly successful analysis. "You think like someone who understands how money really moves, not just how it's supposed to move according to regulations." Is that a compliment? It's an observation. And yes, a compliment. They'd fallen into a routine, working together on projects, having dinner afterward to discuss findings, occasionally drinks at Sebastian's place. It was professional, but also personal. Lauren was seeing sides of Sebastian that contradicted the crime boss image. He was thoughtful, asking about her life outside work. He was generous, paying her far more than her work merited. He was protective, ensuring she never encountered the violent aspects of his business. "Why do you shield me from the worst parts?" Lauren asked one evening. "Because you don't need to see them. Your value is in analysis, not enforcement. And because I prefer keeping different parts of my world separate when possible. But I'm not naive. I know what you do. Knowing intellectually and witnessing directly are different things. Trust me on that." 6 months into her consulting work, Sebastian made an offer. "I want you full-time. Leave Morrison, come work directly for me. I'll triple your current salary, provide benefits that put normal corporate packages to shame, and give you work that actually challenges you." That's generous. It's practical. You're too valuable to keep as a part-time consultant. And I think you're happier here than you've ever been at Morrison. He was right. Lauren had been happier. The work was engaging, the pay was excellent, and Sebastian himself was fascinating in ways she was trying not to examine too closely. "I'll do it," she said. "But I want something in return." "Name it." "Honesty. Complete honesty about what you do and how you do it. No more shielding me from ugly realities. If I'm going to work for you, I want to understand exactly what that means. Sebastian studied her face. You're sure? Because once you see certain things, you can't unsee them. I'm sure. I'm tired of being protected from reality. Show me your world, Sebastian. All of it. He smiled, something almost proud in his expression. All right. Then let's start with the warehouse meeting tomorrow night. Someone violated an agreement, and I need to address it. You'll see exactly how I handle those situations. I'll be there. If you're listening to this story, the narration seems to whisper through the calculated world Lauren is entering, and you want to know what happens when a brilliant analyst crosses the line from legitimate to something darker. When protection at a gala becomes partnership in crime, when understanding a dangerous man means accepting what he really is. Subscribe to the channel. Because Lauren is about to see Mafia Boss Sebastian without the gentlemanly mask. And sometimes the most dangerous moment is when you realize you don't want him to be different. The warehouse meeting was exactly what Lauren expected and nothing like she imagined. A man sat tied to a chair, not violently restrained, just secured. He looked terrified. Around him stood 3 of Sebastian's security team, professional and calm. Thomas, Sebastian said, approaching the man. His voice was conversational, almost friendly. We had an agreement. You would handle distribution in the garment district without encroaching on established territories. Simple, clear, mutually beneficial. I know. But the opportunity was in someone else's territory. Someone who pays me for exclusive rights to that area. You violated that person's agreement and mine simultaneously. I can make it right. I'll pull back, return the profits. Sebastian held up a hand. You'll do that regardless. The question is what else happens. He pulled out his phone, showed Thomas something Lauren couldn't see. The man's face went white. That's my daughter. Yes, she's safe, currently attending her afternoon classes. But Thomas, you need to understand something. When you violate agreements, you don't just risk your own consequences. You risk everyone connected to you. You wouldn't hurt a child? No, never. But I would ensure that child's father disappears from her life entirely. I would ensure she grows up wondering what happened to you, where you went, why you abandoned her. Thomas was shaking. Please, I'll do anything. You'll cease all operations immediately. You'll liquidate your inventory at cost and return every penny to the people you took business from. You'll pay a penalty equal to 6 months' profit for the breach. And you'll leave the city within 48 hours? Are we clear? Yes, absolutely clear. Good. Because if I see you again, if I hear you're operating anywhere in this region, the consequences will be severe. Not for you, for everyone you care about. Do you understand what I'm saying? I understand. Sebastian nodded to his security team. They untied Thomas and escorted him out, still shaking. Lauren had watched the entire exchange silently. Now Sebastian turned to her. That's how I handle violations. No immediate violence, no dramatic threats. Just clear consequences that make the smart choice obvious. You threatened his daughter. I threatened to make him disappear from his daughter's life. There's a difference. I'd never harm a child, Lauren. That's a line I won't cross. But threatening what people care about? That's effective without being destructive. It's still manipulation. Yes, welcome to my world. This is how I maintain control without constant violence. Psychology, consequences, reputation. Most people choose the smart option when it's presented clearly enough. They walked out to his car. Lauren was quiet, processing what she'd witnessed. Second thoughts? Sebastian asked. No, but I'm understanding better what crime boss means. You're not a thug with a gun. You're a strategist who uses fear as precisely as I use spreadsheets. That's the most accurate description anyone's given me. He looked at her seriously. Does it change how you see me? Yes, but not in the way you probably think. How then? I see you as more complicated. More human, actually. You're not a movie villain. You're someone making calculated choices in an environment where violence is always an option, but you prefer alternatives. Sebastian smiled. You really are remarkable, Lauren. Most people would be horrified. You're analyzing methodology. It's what I do. Analyze systems. Your system happens to be a criminal organization, but it's still a system with logic and structure. And can you work within that system? Knowing what you know now? Lauren thought about it. Really thought about it. Yes, because I understand now that you're trying to minimize harm while operating in a harmful space. That's not heroic, but it's not monstrous either. It's pragmatic. Pragmatic. I like that. They had dinner, their usual ritual after work. But this time, the conversation was different, more honest. Lauren asked questions about violence, about choices, about the worst things Sebastian had done. He answered everything. Didn't hide, didn't justify, just explained. By the end of the evening, Lauren had a clear picture of exactly who Sebastian Volkov was. Dangerous, intelligent, strategic, occasionally ruthless, but also principled within his own framework, trying to create order in a chaotic space, minimizing harm where possible. "Thank you," she said as they finished. For what? For being honest. For showing me the reality instead of a sanitized version. I can work with honest darkness better than comfortable lies. That's why I'm falling for you, you know? Lauren's breath caught. What? Sebastian looked surprised at himself, like he hadn't meant to say it aloud. I'm fallen for you. Have been since that night at the gala. Watching you handle Castellana with dignity, seeing you dive into complex analysis without fear, realizing you're brave enough to see my world clearly without running away. You're everything I didn't know I was looking for. Sebastian! I know it's complicated. I know I'm not someone you should fall for. But I needed you to know. Honesty, right? That's what we agreed on. Lauren stood and walked around the table to him. You're right, it is complicated. You're a criminal who just threatened a man's family. I should run away as fast as possible. But I'm falling for you too. Have been for months. And I can't seem to stop, even knowing what you are. Sebastian stood, pulled her close. This is a terrible idea. The worst. We're going to make each other's lives impossibly difficult. Probably. He kissed her deep and desperate, like he'd been holding back for months and finally couldn't anymore. Lauren kissed him back, making her choice clear. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. My place? Sebastian asked. Yes, that night, everything changed. They weren't just employer and consultant anymore. They were something more, something deeper, something that probably defied common sense but felt right anyway. In the morning, Lauren woke in Sebastian's bed, sunlight streaming through expensive curtains, and realized she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. She'd fallen in love with a crime boss. And she didn't regret it at all. 3 months into their relationship, Lauren was fully integrated into Sebastian's organization. She'd left Morrison Analytics completely, now working directly for Sebastian's legitimate business umbrella while quietly consulting on the less legitimate operations. The work was everything he promised: challenging, engaging, well compensated. And being with Sebastian was complicated in all the best ways. You're different now, her friend Emma observed over lunch. Happier, more confident. What changed? Lauren couldn't tell her the truth, that she was dating a crime boss and analyzing money laundering operations for profit. New job. Better opportunities. I'm finally being challenged properly. And the guy? There's a guy, right? Right? You have that look. There might be a guy. Serious guy or casual guy? Serious. Very serious. Emma grinned. Good. You deserve that. Bring him to dinner sometime. I want to meet this mystery man who's got you glowing. Lauren imagined bringing Sebastian to a casual dinner with friends. Imagined explaining what he did for a living. Imagine the horror on Emma's face. Maybe eventually. It's still new. The complications Lauren expected, danger, violence, moral conflict, were less problematic than she'd anticipated. The complications she didn't expect were stranger. Like when Sebastian's ex-girlfriend appeared at his office. Who's this? The woman asked, looking Lauren up and down with obvious disdain. She was beautiful, tall, elegant. The kind of woman who looked like she belonged in Sebastian's world. This is Lauren. She works with me. Sebastian's tone was carefully neutral. Lauren, this is Natasha. We knew each other years ago. Knew each other, Natasha repeated mockingly. Is that what we're calling it? We were engaged, Sebastian. Lauren felt something cold in her stomach. Engaged? 5 years ago. Before he decided his organization was more important than our relationship. Sebastian's expression hardened. Natasha, why are you here? I heard you were seeing someone new. Wanted to meet the woman stupid enough to try to build a life with you. She looked at Lauren directly. You know what he is, right? What he does. I know. And you're okay with it? With the violence, the crime, the constant danger? I'm managing. Natasha laughed. You're managing. That's precious. I managed too at first. Until the threats started. Until I couldn't go anywhere without guards. Until I realized loving Sebastian meant signing up for a life of fear disguised as luxury. Natasha, enough, Sebastian said quietly. Why? She deserves to know what she's gotten into. How many times will she lie awake wondering if tonight's the night someone comes after her to hurt you? How many times will she question if this is worth it? Every day, Lauren said. And I'll keep choosing yes. Because unlike you, I understand what I signed up for. I went into this with eyes open. You think you understand. But you don't. Not yet. Wait until someone threatens you directly. Wait until you realize that everyone in Sebastian's world sees you as a weakness to exploit. Then tell me how open your eyes are. She left, and the office felt quieter without her dramatic presence. I'm sorry about that, Sebastian said. Natasha has issues with how our relationship ended. Were you really engaged? Yes, I proposed, she accepted. Then she realized what being with me actually meant and couldn't handle it. She's not wrong about the difficulties, Lauren. Being with me is complicated and sometimes dangerous. I know. But I'm not Natasha. I'm choosing this anyway. Why? Because you're honest. Because the work challenges me. Because I'd rather have complicated truth with you than comfortable lies with someone safe. Lauren moved closer. And because I love you. Complications and all. It was the first time either of them had said it directly. The words hung in the air between them. Sebastian pulled her close. I love you too. More than I should. More than is probably wise. Then we'll be unwise together. But Natasha's warnings lingered. Lauren started noticing the security that followed her everywhere. Started understanding that her life wasn't entirely her own anymore. Every decision had to consider safety, exposure, consequences. One evening, leaving a restaurant, a man approached. Lauren Harris? Yes? He handed her an envelope. You've been served. Inside was a subpoena. Federal grand jury investigating Sebastian's organization. They wanted her to testify. Lauren's hands shook as she read it. Sebastian took the document, his expression darkening. When? 2 weeks from now. We'll need lawyers. Good ones. This is exactly what I was afraid of. They're going after people close to me because they can't touch me directly. What do? You tell the truth about our relationship. You invoke privilege for any conversations we've had. And you give them nothing about operations because you don't know anything that could hurt me. They're going to pressure. Yes. They'll imply you're complicit in crimes. They'll threaten prosecution. They'll try to scare you into cooperation. He cupped her face gently. But you're strong enough to handle this. I believe that. I'm terrified. Good, fear keeps you alert. But Lauren, if this becomes too much, if you want to walk away, I'll understand. I'll ensure you're protected, that you can rebuild your life without consequences. You always have that option. I'm not walking away. You say that now. I'm not walking away, Lauren repeated firmly. I chose this. I chose you. I'm not abandoning that choice because things got difficult. Sebastian kissed her forehead. You're the most stubborn, brave, foolish person I've ever met. I get that a lot. The investigation became Lauren's constant shadow. Federal agents approached her repeatedly, trying to build their case, pressuring her to cooperate. She stayed silent. Referred everything to lawyers. Maintained that she worked for Sebastian's legitimate businesses and knew nothing about illegal activities. It was technically true. Sebastian had been careful to keep her away from anything directly prosecutable. She'd analyzed financial structures but never witnessed crimes. She knew his organization existed but had no specific knowledge of operations. "You're protecting a criminal," an agent told her during one encounter. "I'm protecting my boyfriend." "There's a difference." "Is there? When your boyfriend runs a criminal enterprise?" "Alleged criminal enterprise. He's never been convicted of anything. Yet." Lauren walked away from these encounters shaking but determined. She wouldn't give them Sebastian. Wouldn't betray his trust. Wouldn't compromise the relationship they'd built. The grand jury testimony was as awful as expected. 3 hours of aggressive questioning, implications of conspiracy, barely veiled threats of prosecution. Lauren held firm. "I work in financial analysis for Mr. Volkov's legitimate business interests. I have no knowledge of illegal activities." "That's the truth, and it's all I have to offer." They dismissed her eventually, frustrated but empty-handed. Outside, Sebastian was waiting. "How bad?" "Unpleasant. But I gave them nothing." He pulled her into his arms, right there on the courthouse steps. "Thank you. For staying strong. For protecting me. For not giving up. I told you I wouldn't. I know." But experiencing it is different from hearing the promise. The investigation continued for months but eventually closed without charges. Once again, Lauren's loyalty had protected them both. "You're remarkable," Sebastian told her. "Most people would have cracked under that pressure." "I'm not most people." "No, you're definitely not." A year into their relationship, the real test came. Lauren was working late at the office, one of Sebastian's legitimate business buildings, when she heard shouting from the lobby. Security protocols were clear. Lock the door. Call Sebastian. Wait for help. She did all three. "What's happening?" Sebastian asked immediately when he answered. "Someone's in the building. Security is handling it, but..." Gunshots. 3 rapid cracks that made Lauren drop the phone. She dove under her desk, heart pounding, trying to remember emergency procedures. More shouts. More shots. Then silence more terrifying than noise. Her phone rang. "Sebastian." "Lauren, are you hurt?" "No. I'm hiding." "What's happening?" "Rival organization making a statement. They can't touch me directly, so they're hitting my buildings. Security is handling it. Stay where you are." "I'm coming." "Sebastian, stay there. Do not come out until you hear my voice or Marcus's voice. Do not trust anyone else. Understood?" "Understood." 20 minutes felt like hours. Lauren stayed under her desk, phone clutched in shaking hands, trying not to imagine worst-case scenarios. Finally, "Lauren? It's Marcus. You can come out." She emerged cautiously. Marcus was there with 3 other security personnel, all armed, all scanning for threats. "What happened?" 3 men tried to shoot up the lobby. Wanted to send a message. They failed. Failed how? "They're no longer a concern." The clinical phrasing told Lauren everything. "You killed them. We neutralized the threat. Come on. Boss wants you somewhere safer." Sebastian met them at a building Lauren didn't recognize, another safe location, apparently. He looked grim. "Are you hurt?" "No, scared but not hurt." He pulled her close, and Lauren felt him shaking. "I'm sorry. This is exactly what I tried to prevent. What I warned you about. It's not your fault." "It is. They attacked because of me. Because hurting my people hurts me." "You were targeted because you're important to me. But I'm safe." "This time? But what about next time? What if Marcus doesn't get there in time? What if..." He stopped. Couldn't finish the thought. Lauren pulled back to look at him. "Sebastian, look at me. I'm okay. Your security worked. The protocols worked. I'm safe. You shouldn't have to be protected. You should be living a normal life without security teams and safe houses and..." "Stop. Stop trying to protect me from choices I already made. I knew the risks. I chose you anyway. Nothing that happened tonight changes that. It should. You should walk away while you still can." "I'm not walking away. How many times do I have to say that before you believe me?" Sebastian looked at her with something like desperation. "You could die because of me, Lauren. That's not theoretical anymore. Tonight proved it's real. And I could die crossing the street tomorrow. Life doesn't come with safety guarantees." But it does come with choices, and I'm choosing you. Choosing this life. Choosing us. He kissed her fierce and desperate, like he was trying to convince himself she was real and safe. When they pulled apart, Sebastian said quietly, I need to handle this. Whoever ordered the attack, they need to understand consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind that ensure it never happens again. Over the next week, Lauren learned more about Sebastian's capacity for calculated violence. 3 rival operations were dismantled. 2 organization heads relocated to other cities. Several intermediaries disappeared entirely. Sebastian didn't discuss details, but the results were clear. The attack on Lauren had been a costly mistake for his enemies. Is it over? Lauren asked when things finally quieted. For now. They understand that touching you has consequences they can't afford. That protection is worth more than any advantage they might gain. How do you live like this? Constantly calculating threats? By compartmentalizing. By having people I trust handling security so I can focus on strategy. By accepting that perfect safety doesn't exist, only managed risk. That sounds exhausting. It is. But it's also what keeps everyone I care about alive. Lauren thought about what Natasha had said, about constant fear, about questioning if it was worth it. She understood now what the woman had meant. But Lauren's answer was different. Yes, it was frightening. Yes, there were constant threats. But she'd rather face those threats with Sebastian than avoid them alone. I love you, she said, even knowing everything. Especially knowing everything. That's either the bravest or most foolish thing you've ever said. Probably both. They held each other in the safe house, both understanding that their relationship existed in constant tension between love and danger, between choice and consequence, between the life they wanted and the reality they had. But they were in it together. And somehow that made it bearable. 6 months after the attack, Sebastian asked Lauren to move in with him officially. You're already here most nights anyway, he pointed out. Might as well make it official. That's the least romantic moving in proposal ever. Fine. Lauren Harris, you make my complicated life worth living. Your presence makes my admittedly excessive security protocols feel less like paranoia and more like protection. And I can't imagine waking up without you. Move in with me. Officially. Better. Still not great, but better. Is that a yes? It's a yes. Lauren moved into Sebastian's penthouse, the same one where he'd hidden her during the investigation, now transformed into their home. She brought her books, her personal things, pieces of her old life into his new one. This place actually looks lived in now, Sebastian observed. Before you, it was just expensive furniture in an expensive space. Before me, you were just a lonely crime boss with too many safe houses. Allegedly lonely crime boss. Right, allegedly. They settled into domestic routine that felt surreal given Sebastian's profession. Morning coffee together. Discussing work both legitimate and otherwise. Dinners when schedules allowed. Normal couple things, except one half of the couple ran a criminal organization. Emma finally met Sebastian at a carefully orchestrated dinner. So, what do you do? She asked with the bluntness of a protective friend. I manage various business interests. Real estate, imports, investments. That's vague. Intentionally so. But I promise I treat Lauren well. After dinner, Emma pulled Lauren aside. He's dangerous. I know. No, I mean there's something about him. The way people look at him. The way even the waiter seemed nervous. Lauren, what does he really do? Exactly what he said. Manages business interests. You're lying to me. I'm protecting you. Trust me when I say you don't want more details. Emma looked torn between concern and respect for Lauren's choice. Just promise me you're safe. I'm safe. I promise. It was mostly true. With Sebastian's security, with his protection, Lauren was probably safer than she'd been living alone. But the nature of the threats was different, more severe when they materialized, even if they were rarer. One evening, Sebastian came home looking thoughtful. What's wrong? Lauren asked. Not wrong. Just thinking about us. About the future. What about the future? What it looks like. For us. Long term. Lauren felt her heart race. Are you asking what I think you're asking? That depends on what you think I'm asking. Sebastian. He pulled out a small box. Inside was a ring, elegant, beautiful, exactly Lauren's style. Marry me. Not because it's expected or traditional, but because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Because you've seen the worst of what I am and chosen to stay. Because I love you more than I thought I was capable of loving anyone. Lauren felt tears streaming down her face. Yes, 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 I'll marry you. You wonderful, terrible, complicated man, yes. He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her like she was oxygen, and he'd been drowning. We're going to have a strange wedding, Lauren said when they pulled apart. Half my guests will be under federal surveillance, and half mine will be horrified I'm marrying you. So we'll have a small wedding. Just people who matter. They married 3 months later. City Hall, minimal ceremony, Marcus and Emma as witnesses. Simple, honest, perfect. You're officially married to a crime boss, Sebastian said after. Alleged crime boss. Are you ever going to stop saying alleged? Probably not. It amuses me. They honeymooned in Italy 2 weeks of pretending to be normal tourists, eating incredible food, seeing beautiful places, existing without the constant weight of Sebastian's reputation. I could get used to this, Lauren said one evening over wine in Florence. Being normal. Being normal. Just us, no organization, no threats, no complications. Would you really want that? Normal. Lauren thought about it honestly. No, I like our complicated. I like knowing you trust me with the reality of your world. I like the challenge of navigating something this complex. Normal would be boring. That's the most unusual thing I've ever heard someone say about my life. I'm an unusual person. Yes, you are. That's why I love you. They returned home to reality. Sebastian's operations. Lauren's analysis work, the constant dance between legitimate and illegitimate. But they returned as partners, facing it together. Thank you, Sebastian said one evening. For what? For choosing this. For choosing me. For not running away when any sane person would have. Who says I'm sane? Fair point. They laughed, comfortable in their strange life together. 2 years into their marriage, the FBI investigation reopened. They have new evidence, Sebastian's lawyer explained. Financial records from an offshore account. They're building a RICO case. How bad? Lauren asked. Potentially serious. If they can connect Sebastian to specific illegal transactions, they have a case. But the evidence is circumstantial. What do you need from me? Lauren asked Sebastian. Nothing. You stay clear of this. I won't let them drag you into... Sebastian, we're married. They'll try to pressure me regardless. So tell me, what do you need? He looked at her seriously. The offshore accounts. They were set up years ago, before you were involved. But if they trace transactions, they'll find legitimate payments mixed with illegal ones. If you could analyze the patterns, find clean separation. You want me to help you hide evidence. I want you to help me demonstrate that the legitimate transactions are separate from alleged illegal ones. Which is true. But proving it requires your analytical skills. It was a line. Lauren knew it was a line. Helping Sebastian navigate this investigation meant actively participating in his defense against criminal charges. I'll do it, she said. Lauren, I'll do it, because you're my husband. Because I believe you're trying to minimize harm in a harmful space. Because I'm already complicit by association. So yes, I'll help. She spent 3 weeks analyzing 7 years of financial records. The patterns were clear once you knew what to look for: legitimate business income flowing through normal channels, illegal income carefully routed through separate structures. But the offshore accounts blurred those lines. Someone, possibly Sebastian, possibly an accountant, had been careless about separation. Payments mixed, making it look like legitimate businesses were funding illegal operations. Lauren found the solution. Demonstrate that the mixed payments were timing coincidences, not intentional integration. It required creative interpretation of transaction purposes, but it was defensible. She presented her findings to Sebastian's legal team. They were impressed. This gives us a strong argument that the government's evidence doesn't prove what they claim it proves. The lead attorney said. If we can get Lauren to testify as an expert witness, no, Sebastian said immediately. Absolutely not. I won't put her on the stand defending me. Sebastian, her analysis could win this case. I don't care. Find another way. After the lawyers left, Lauren confronted him. Why did you refuse? My testimony could help, because I won't let you perjure yourself for me. Because putting you on the stand means they'll attack your credibility, your relationship with me, everything. Because protecting you matters more than protecting myself. That's not your decision to make. Yes, it is. Lauren, I love you. But I won't destroy your integrity to save myself. What if I'm willing to do that? Then I'm not. That's where my line is. You can analyze documents, you can provide consultation, but you will not testify under oath to creative interpretations that benefit me. I won't allow it. Lauren wanted to argue. But she also understood what Sebastian was doing, protecting her from crossing a line she couldn't uncross. Okay, she said finally. No testimony. But I'll help every other way I can. The investigation dragged on for 8 months. Lauren provided analysis, helped develop defense strategies, supported Sebastian through the stress of potential prosecution. In the end, the case fell apart. The FBI couldn't prove the offshore accounts were used for illegal purposes. Without that connection, they had no RICO case. It's over, Sebastian told Lauren. Charges dismissed. We did it. You did it. Your analysis provided the foundation for our defense. I can't thank you enough. You don't have to thank me. We're partners. That's what partners do. Sebastian pulled her close. I'm sorry I put you through this. Sorry you had to use your skills to defend criminal activity. I wasn't defending criminal activity. I was defending my husband. There is a difference. Is there? To me, yes. I'm not naive about what you do, Sebastian. But I also know you're trying to operate with ethics in an unethical space. Defending you doesn't compromise my integrity. It affirms my choice. That's a very sophisticated rationalization. It's an honest one. I chose you. I chose this life. I stand by that choice. They stood in their penthouse, holding each other, both understanding that they'd survived another test. The investigations would come again. The threats would resurface. The complications would continue. But they were in it together. And that made everything bearable. 5 years after a gala where Sebastian defended her from a bully, Lauren Volkov stood in the same ballroom, attending the same charity event. But everything was different now. She was Sebastian's wife, known in certain circles as the brilliant analyst who helped manage his legitimate operations. Respected by his people, feared by his enemies, loved by the man who ran half the city's underground economy. Enjoying yourself? Sebastian asked, approaching with 2 glasses of champagne. More than last time. Less chance of being harassed by entitled developers. I made sure of that. Castellana isn't welcome at any event I influence. Which is most of them. They stood together, watching the crowd. Lauren saw people looking at them, some with respect, some with fear, some with curiosity about the woman who'd married the most dangerous man in the city. Any regrets? Sebastian asked quietly. About what? All of it. Choosing this life. Choosing me. The complications, the dangers, the moral ambiguity. Lauren thought about the journey, from witness to consultant to wife. From naive analyst to partner in a criminal enterprise. From normal life to something far more complex. No regrets, she said honestly. This life is complicated and sometimes dangerous, but it's real, you're real. And I'd rather have complicated truth with you than comfortable lies with anyone else. That's the most romantic thing you've ever said about my criminal activities. Alleged criminal activities. You're never going to stop saying that, are you? Never. They laughed, comfortable in their strange life together. Senator Morrison approached, the same senator who'd warned Sebastian about hearings years ago. Sebastian. Lauren. Good to see you both. Senator. Sebastian replied cordially. How's the Judiciary Committee treating you? Keeping me busy. But I wanted to thank you both. Your foundation's contribution to the Children's Hospital was incredibly generous. After he left, Lauren looked at Sebastian. Foundation? I established a charitable foundation last year. Figured if I'm going to have all this money, some of it should do actual good. You're listed as co-director, by the way. You established a charity without telling me? I wanted it to be a surprise. Thought you'd appreciate having legitimate philanthropy to balance the less legitimate business activities. Lauren felt tears prick her eyes. That's the most thoughtful crime boss thing I've ever heard. I try. They stayed at the gala for another hour, making appropriate social connections, playing their roles. But when they finally left, driving home through the city they both loved, Lauren reflected on how strange and wonderful her life had become. She'd been defended by a crime boss at a charity event. She'd fallen in love with him. She'd married him. She'd defended him against federal prosecution. She'd built a life that defied every logical expectation. And she was happy. "What are you thinking about?" Sebastian asked. "How much has changed since that first gala? How different my life is now. Better or worse?" "Different. Complicated. But mine. Ours." Sebastian took her hand. "I love you. More than I thought possible. More than I probably should. I love you too. All of you. The crime boss and the man. The danger and the kindness. Everything." They arrived home, their penthouse, their safe space, their life together. Inside, Lauren looked out at the city lights, thinking about choices and consequences, and the strange path that had led her here. 5 years ago, she'd been humiliated by a powerful man at a fancy party. 5 years ago, Sebastian Volkov had defended her without knowing her, simply because it was the right thing to do. That single moment had changed everything. And Lauren wouldn't change any of it. Because sometimes the most dangerous choice is the best one. Sometimes the person who protects you becomes the person you can't imagine living without. And sometimes falling in love with a crime boss is exactly what you need to become who you're meant to be. In a ballroom full of wealth and power, Lauren learned that protection comes from unexpected places. Mafia boss Sebastian didn't just defend her from a bully. He showed her what real power looks like. Not violence, not aggression, but absolute certainty that consequences will follow actions. She could have walked away after that night. Instead, she walked toward him, choosing complicated truth over comfortable safety. Because sometimes the most dangerous man in the room is the only one who makes you feel truly seen. Sometimes power wielded with precision is more attractive than power wielded with brutality. And sometimes the person who demands respect for you becomes the person you respect most in the world.